Hi, welcome to Unit 1, Childhood. The unit videos will consist of me personally giving each introduction, and then each lesson will be a PowerPoint with my voiceover, explaining the content. Note that all of these individual videos are much shorter than the first two intro videos you just watched. Also note that every peer editing lesson will not have a video associated with it. That's the good news. The bad news is that you'll need to read those instructions very carefully. So let's get started. Jaques, in his 7 Ages of Man speech, notes, "The whining schoolboy with his satchel, creeping like snail unwillingly to school." And this is where it all began. Childhood excitement is obvious on the playground around any school. The excitement continues in the classroom, at least on the very first day of school. Remember when a new box of crayons was actually exciting? School provides us with a world of memories. You may remember learning to write in cursive, the lost art of writing with loops and curls. You may also remember keyboarding. Unfortunately, for many, writing, like school, often becomes less of an adventure as time goes on. School loses its appeal for a variety of reasons. The initial playfulness and clear discipline of school becomes drudgery. Instead of anticipating school, children begin to count the days down to their next vacation. Later in life, the act of picking up a pen or working at a keyboard, like going to school, can be exciting, but often assigned writing tasks are likely to become an object of dread in the same way that school does. Children begin to do as Jaques describes, creep like snails unwillingly to school, when faced with the discipline and skill required of writing. Shakespeare's schoolboy, representing the age of childhood, suggests several important lessons in composition. Number 1, good writers attempt to answer questions using the full range of the writer's experiences. I'll say that again, and hopefully you're taking notes. Number 1, good writing attempts to answer questions using the full range of the writer's experiences. Peeking, touching, holding, shaking, prying things apart. Childhood reminds us that knowledge begins in the senses. So does the art of writing. Writing well requires that you address real questions and that you attempt to answer those questions by recalling the details of your experiences. And that can be tough. For this reason, the brainstorming stage of the writing process is crucial. There are many ways to brainstorm, and in the next lesson, we'll discuss several. But not every strategy works well for everyone. You'll need to decide what works best for you. Yet the strategy you should never opt for is to just start drafting. Trying to draft an essay before you have anything to write about usually results at staring at a blank page. Or worse, it results in a few unexplored ideas which are presented in cliches. Readers are bored by essays that belabor the obvious with dull and superficial commentary. It's your job as a writer to keep the reader engaged. The second lesson childhood suggests is number 2. Good writing must be adapted according to the purpose of each assignment. The second lesson is suggested by the child's desire to make sense of the world, to discover patterns or to invent patterns. The need for order in children is obvious, even if they often seem to escape any order that we plan for them. Children naturally seek out patterns and rules that shape their world. Children seek discipline. I've watched children spend hours just preparing to play a game. They make up rules and argue about rules. Learning rules, making up rules, sometimes changing rules are a part of childhood play, and the same is true for writing. Good writing requires that you provide your ideas with a sense of order, both in the structure or organization and in the syntax and grammar. All kinds of rules are necessary for the game of writing, and it's sometimes those very rules which bog us down. Even so, there are some general rules about writing that all writers attempt to follow. Number 1, your essay has a significant thesis. Number 2, you present the appropriate information and degree of detail. Number 3, the overall structure of your writing is clear. And number 4, the conventional rules of grammar are followed. Good writing may partially be defined as writing that removes obstacles to the reader's ability to understand the text. Difficulty with basic grammatical structures creates obstacles for the reader. So there are 4 basic rules, but depending on the assignment, there may be even more. Think about it. The rules for a business report are not the same as the rules for a newspaper article. We need to be able to adapt our rules for the assignment and for the audience. So how do you learn to write well? Where do you find the details or information needed to develop a piece of writing? How do you know which set of rules govern each assignment? Like practicing different parts of a game, it's helpful to study writing in terms of the steps that make up the writing process. In Lesson 3, I'll briefly discuss the writing process, then explain a few different brainstorming techniques that you should try before beginning your draft. But first, let's get to the assignment. You'll find it in the Unit 1 module and in your textbook. Your first essay assignment is to compare and contrast your childhood to the childhood of today's children or to the childhood of your parents or grandparents. Notice that I said or. You're comparing your own childhood to either the childhood of children today or to your grandparents or parents. Don't try to do it all. In this unit, as in all units of the course, I'll provide a student's work to help illustrate one way of completing the task. It's your job to read through that textbook sample essay and to get a feel for the requirements. You may wish to write about your elementary school experiences, as the sample student essay does, but any aspect of childhood would be suitable for the topic. I have to say that I get a lot of essays concerning technology. Certainly that topic is fine, but it also needs to be fresh to be successful. Most importantly, the essay must have a clear purpose or thesis, and the comparisons and contrasts must be clearly developed using details and examples. Keep in mind, in the very first lesson that I set out for this course earlier in this video, good writing attempts to answer questions using the full range of the writer's experiences. So if you don't have the experience with children today, I recommend that you choose to compare your childhood to that of your parents or grandparents. If you don't have grandparents who've told you stories about their childhood or whom you could ask about their childhood, I would recommend that you don't write about grandparents. Get the picture? The full assignment sheet is located in the Unit 1 module or the Content tab of D2L and in your textbook. Read it through carefully before proceeding to our next lesson, Lesson 3.